Aloha and welcome back to another episode of the Ohana Packers Edition podcast. Today, Iowa Joe made it back safely from Green Bay training camp, and I survived another hurricane. Ooh, and he brought some merch back. If you guys don't subscribe, it's just going to stay on Joe's wall.
Well, no, this is one that I got. This was, I have to say, this year was pretty good for anybody that did autographing. I hit about 48 by 10. I pretty much ran out of that, so I went and bought this piece. And I've got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different players on this one, too.
The most important one is the signed. The most important one is the signed Can Acord clip from his presser. That's the most impressive one.
Oh man, he was so excited about it. I do have to say this: that Cam Acord, and I mentioned this in our one of our group chats. I had no idea what he looked like. I really, I don't pay attention to the pressers and anything like that. I had a general idea, but me and some of the friends that I have up there were just kind of hanging out, and there was 2 or 3 guys walking up, and I had printed out that picture and of him holding the Sharpie in kicking position, and they go, well, there's Acord right there. And I looked, and I was like, are you sure that's not like an intern or anything? And they go, no, that's our special teams coordinator. He can't be more than like 5'6", and he's real thin, and I have to say he's the complete opposite of Bisaccia. Whereas Bisaccia was like real intense and focused, and Cam Acord was joyful, was laughing. When he saw the picture that I had and he signed it for me, he laughed, saying, I figured one of these days somebody was going to print this out and have me sign it. And yeah, so I really look forward to seeing what he does with the special teams.
So yeah, why don't we spend a couple minutes? I mean, you were up there for what, a week, 10 days, what it was? Like, what were some of the best? Let's get Iowa Joe's best of training camp for the 2026 season.
Well, the best of it was just me not being at work and having no responsibilities at all. I kind of told Mike some of these as I went around. Before we recorded, MarShawn Lloyd, if I could talk right, is very grateful. I did have a little couple-minute conversation with him. He said that pretty much they think they've got the injury bug figured out, so he looks forward to being on that field running people over, and so far he's been looking good with it. Chris McClellan, I had to wonder, friend of the show, Joey Van Zoomer, and I kind of dropped his name, and Chris and I had a moment talk because he goes, well, I wanted to get in the sports journalism program, but it's a very hard program to get into. So we had a few minutes to talk. That I always say that if you don't want to do the whole game day experience, try to hit an open practice training camp, because the tradition is fun, the bike riding tradition, seeing the players, being able to interact with some of the players like that, it's amazing. There are going to be your bad apples that kind of ruin it for people, but if you can kind of keep those out of your mind and focus in on what you're up there for, training camp is one of the best things that you can do.
Right on.
And like I said, you can actually have some kind of interactions with the players more than just seeing them on the field or giving them a wave or whatever. And it made me wish I had a camera guy that followed me around so I could do interviews while I was up there. But, hey, that means you guys got to subscribe, get us a bunch of followers so we can start making money off of this thing.
Yep. So that Joe can have a little minion following him around. We can get the full experience encapsulated. But like I said, glad you had a good time. Glad it was a good experience. Glad you made it back home safely. I know that you had some unnecessary car issues that you had to sort out in the week right before you headed up there. So glad that wasn't an issue and you were able to enjoy your time. And like I said, I'm glad you made it back home safely. And here we are back to covering the team.
And let's not forget, Quano is safe over there too. You know, the big scare was that they had a hurricane coming over towards them, so they were able to escape that out. And, you know, as you can see, Mike's in his house, not in some kind of hut on the beach somewhere. So
it's the joys. Even though the house is basically 100 years old, we're elevated. We're literally on a plateau. Like, we're a good 100 feet above sea level, I would say, at least. So we're not in a flash flood area or anything like that. It is more just making sure that I trim our mango tree and our lychee tree to make sure nothing flies in through the window or takes out a part of the wall or anything like that. But no, you know, we don't take it for granted at all. There's a lot of people who are affected here. Oahu mostly with power outages and things like that, but on the neighbor islands, yeah, like the Big Island took the brunt of it, and there's a lot of people posting before and after pictures of some of the devastation out there. So if you do vacation, you know, the only thing I'll request is that if you do frequent the islands for vacationing, if you find any of the Hawaii local excuse me, what's it called, foundations that do sorts of you know, outreach or anything like that, I do ask that if you would be willing to donate to those to help the affected out, that would be appreciated by everyone on island. But this is a Packers podcast, and we're going to refocus back on the Packers. I'll get off my soapbox and end my TED Talk now, but the Packers did play a preseason game, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how Joe felt rolling out of bed on Friday. That game was not at Lambeau.
No. I'm glad it wasn't, and that's one of the crapshoots that I take when I do these trips up there, is because I have to put my time in so far in advance, just because if I do it too close to training camp or when they announce the schedule, hotel room prices skyrocket. So in order to get my deals on everything, I got to do it in advance, and so it's kind of a crapshoot. So I'm kind of glad that it was not a home game at Lambeau on the day that I left.
Yep. So the Packers come away with a 33-13 victory in Denver, and we're gonna go into our post-game recap that you know, you'll be hearing normally when we record these episodes for the Sunday episodes that are for Monday release. Oh boy! Right after I said we got home safe. Disaster on the home front, but Joe's fine. He's still there. So I'll just recap as Joe gets his stuff back together. So as I said, the Packers went up to Denver. Not that the preseason really equates to this, but you know, for all intents and purposes, the Packer season ended in Denver back in December of last season. The injury to Parsons, the loss of Zach Tom, now Zach Bakuboele, just crippled the team to a point where, you know, and you still see Bears fans complaining about this stuff. They talk about number of games lost to injury, and they just like to leave out the fact that the Packers were, for all intents and purposes, playing without 4 of their best 5 players down the stretch of the season due to injury, and that's just something that you just don't shrug off, for lack of a better term. It was good to see the Packers go back out there, see the starters play, and have, you know, a relatively solid game amongst the starters. Joe, your initial thoughts on what we saw on Friday night before we go into our usual cheese rankings?
You know what? Most of it was all right, and I am okay over here. For some reason, my monitor collapsed and knocked everything off with it. But most everything was all right. I mean, it's kind of the thing that you run into with preseason games, that the further into the game and the lower on the totem some of these players are, the less that things happen. Or, it's not as smooth as if you have your starters out there. There are some things that I'm going to continue to talk about because I've continued to have quote-unquote fun interactions with people on Twitter about. But I mean, overall, and the other thing is LaFleur's not actually calling the offense. We know for a fact that it's Vinovich calling plays for the offense. So even though you have your number one starters out there for the most part, you're not getting the actual game day type stuff because it's not all the right crew out there doing what they normally do on a regular season Sunday. But overall, I mean, it was a win. There were some good things, there were some bad things, and we'll get into it as we get going.
All right, so let's as we've noted repeatedly on this episode, other episodes, we too are in preseason, so we're getting used to running our show like we usually do. Are you running sounds today for the segments?
No, we'll start that when the regular season hits, because
Sounds
there's
good.
no way that we're going to be able to cover the good, the bad, the ugly on things, just because, like I said...
Well, we're going to try.
Yeah, we're going to do what we can, but with them running 100 different players out there each week for the preseason, it's hard to break down that kind of thing.
Yep, but let's go into our fresh cheese. What did you scrounge up for fresh cheese this week?
Trace Mack. He continues to stack his successes. And I don't want to say, oh, we got our kicker, because that kind of defeats the purpose of my other argument that I have about a certain player on the team. But, he's looking good. Right now, the elements aren't really affecting him because they haven't really had any bad elements as of yet. But, it's been pretty much straight down the middle, deep. What was his long? Was it 57 that he had a long, or 56 he had a long for this
59.
week?
59.
I think if I remember right, that thing could have looked like it would have been good from like 69 yards because of how much...
Yeah. The point that a lot have made, I know Bukowski kept making it on multiple Locked On Packers episodes, is like, you can see when he kicks it, the guys who pull the net up for the field goal kicks. I don't know. I don't know how the operation works. I think it should just be up no matter what. But it almost looked like they were like, it's a 60 or a 59 yarder, like whatever. It's gonna just clear it, kind of thing. And I think when they saw how that ball was flying in, you kind of could tell by how kind of vigorously they pulled up the net. They were like, oh, it's streaking in, kind of thing and stuff. And they got it like 2/3 of the way up to catch the ball before it like hit a person in the stands, kind of thing. So, yeah, I totally agree with you. It's just like really encouraging. He's not just making these; they're all center mass. He's hitting them from like each hash mark. I didn't track it super well this week, but I know the 51-yarder was from the left hash. I believe the 59-yarder was from middle-ish to slightly right hash. So like it's good to see that you're not seeing like those quote-unquote mini trends popping up where it's like he's only kicking from one side, or when he kicks from one side it looks way better. Like, no, he's got really nice rotation on the ball and like his good flight path and stuff. And that was one of the things, is like, I forget if it was the first or the second field, the 51 or the 59-yarder, but he like does that thing that good 3-point shooters do in basketball where he starts celebrating when the ball is like just cleared the defensive line, kind of thing. And because it's I liken it to golf too, or baseball, where it's like you just know you've cranked one, kind of thing. Like, that's a no doubt left the park home run kind of situation. And that's how he was celebrating one of those two kicks, where he's like, yep, it's good, kind of thing. So,
and he doesn't put that weird knuckle that Mason used to put on his kicks all the time. So it's pretty much, once it's hit, it's down the middle, it's good. There's no weird weave to it or anything like that. So So like I said, as much as I want to sit here and say we've got our kicker for the next 100 years or whatever, again, with the preseason, you've got to kind of temper expectations. Let's see what happens. I love what he's doing, stack successes, but let's see what happens when we start getting into those, element type games, super windy games, super rainy games, snowy games, cold games. Let's see what he happens through there, because there are going to be some growing pains with him. There are going to be some things for him to have to get used to throughout this season. So let's be happy for him now, but let's see how he progresses throughout the rest of the season.
I think the thing you take away most from this point is that he didn't let whatever, because, I know he said he got rid of social media, but he's got a family who's probably telling him, like, hey, your whole media beat is ripping you every day at practice kind of thing. Oh my God, the kicker's under 70%. He hasn't had a perfect day kind of thing. And, like, he might understand that, the point that I brought up is that, Nitschke Field is like a high school stadium where, there's no, there's Hudson is one wall, but, like, if the wind's coming from not the Hudson side of the field, it's just blowing straight through the practice field. So it's a very unlike any actual NFL stadium situation where you have, like, a bowl and the wind is going to swirl as opposed to, like, come straight through like a just like it's an open plain kind of situation or anything like that. So like you said, it's 2 preseason games, but it's nice to see that there are things that you can hang your hat on a little bit. That, like I said, like, he hasn't let all the commentary from media beat reporters, fans who are quote tweeting those media beat reporter counts and stuff, that, like, that part of it hasn't, like, shaken him kind of thing and stuff. That he is, to use a 76ers thing, he has trusted the process, and so far the process is working out really good. It will be interesting to track. We said this about Anders, where it's like, that first time he biffs one, what does his next few kicks look like? Is it back to, nope, like, that's a one-off, and, is he going to be able to tell himself it's a one-off? The angle you like out of him is not, he hasn't at any point been like, oh yeah, like, told you, like, you guys never should have worried about practices, like, I've got this thing. It's each of the 2 preseason games, it's like, oh, I had a good day, or I struck the ball really well today. Kind of, it's very, like, matter of fact, and, like, just regurgitating facts of how his day went, because that's the thing, is, like, sometimes the kicking is going to be you had a bad day, and other times it's going to be there's situations are just totally out of his control. So good to see him have that sort of, like, Teflon attitude about, whether it's good or bad day kind of thing. I think that's really important for a kicker to have.
For sure. And like I said, he's stacking successes and all that, and I think Demo even tweeted that in his warm-ups he was hitting them from, like, 63 yards.
Yep. I think 65 was his long or something like that. So yeah, just smoking them. My opening fresh cheese is going to be the starting quarterback to skill players, because Jordan had a awesome opening drive, and we'll get into why it's not the whole offense a little bit, but the overall offensive execution was pretty darn good. It got off to a little bit of a rough start because you're kind of like, oh, first run was just okay, and then you're kind of like, oh, Watson can't get separation from, oh no, that's Riley Moss, that's not Pat Surtain kind of thing. They run a comeback on second down, and Moss is in Watson's hip pocket kind of thing. And then the third play, it's like, nice play, but don't fumble kind of thing. And it was one of those ones where, like, I had the game on at work, so I don't have the best, like, I'm kind of, like, still doing work, but got the game on the side, and it's one of those where I liken it to watching it at a sports bar where, like, my screen, it's next to me, but I'm not super paying attention to it, so it's kind of like it's on a wall behind the bar kind of thing. And so it's kind of the, like, my reaction was like, damn it, Christian. And then when they showed the replay, I was like, well, there's no way they're overturning that. This is going to be a stick with the call on the field kind of situation. And then all I see next is like, oh, the Packers offense is going back on the field kind of thing. And it was just nice to see them after that point almost flip a switch and just lock in for the most part. And, Golden has the really nice reception on 4th down. Jordan is just hitting all different kinds of receiver. Trying to think. I don't think any. I think Watson was the only one who caught more than one pass and had more than one target on that drive, because he hit Watson twice. He hit Golden on the 4th down. Dabney got one, and then obviously MarShawn Lloyd, the biggest winner out of that opening drive, caught the touchdown pass. And just what a day for Lloyd. We don't know. We can't even say we know what his situation is going to be, because we don't know what the running back 1 situation is going to look like going into week 1. But for him to get, what did he get? He got 7 touches, right? 6 carries and the 1 reception. I think technically 7 carries, because I believe one of the plays got called back by holding or something like that. But just really good to see. And like you said, you just gotta feel good for Marshawn. I know a lot of people sold their stock a while ago, and the thing that we've preached with him is yeah, it's frustrating, but none of his injuries were really run-of-the-mill, he got hurt running at practice kind of things. I know he came into his rookie year, or the first hamstring injury was kind of what happened there, but the appendicitis, the ankle injury in a game kind of thing. And then his second year, the thing that I got irritated with people is yes, sure, maybe he is just one of those guys who's never going to be healthy. But that play he got injured on in Indy in the preseason game, everyone is getting injured of some kind on that play. And the fact that he even got up and walked it to the blue tent was kind of a small miracle in of itself. And I know I speak for both of us in some regard, but we're just happy for him that he has stayed healthy this preseason and getting to show what he's all about. And the last one I'm going to give flowers to is, I saw some people belly aching over it, that they're like, oh god, Stenovich is calling the plays. And I was like, I don't know why you're complaining. He called, only 1 pass was a straight drop back. Everything else was play action. He play action straight back. He booted right. He booted left. He called some runs to mix it up. And I'm like, that's how you want this offense to look, especially if LaFleur is going to die on the hill of he wants it to be not necessarily running the ball, but run-look based. That's what you want this offense to look like, where it's going to be some form of student body right and some form of student body left. And, Stenovich isn't going to call the plays in the season, but in terms of what you want the offense to look like going forward, that's how you want it to look, because that's how you're going to maximize Love's talents, the guys around him on offense, and honestly, how you're going to protect this O-line, which is, for at least part of the season, going to need some form of, protection from itself as it, learns and gels on the job.
Yeah, and, I'm the biggest anti-Stenovich person there is, but yeah, those few plays were pretty good. I don't think it's enough to say Steno needs to take over play calling by any means.
Yeah.
And you can tell by it for a reason why he's not been able to get a play calling position on another team. But Lloyd, we had our frustrations with Lloyd, but it wasn't necessarily because of anything that he did or anything like that. It's just can this guy catch a break finally and be able to play? Again, like I said, when I talked to him for those few minutes, he said that they seem to be able to figure out his issues, and he's really looking forward to being out there and doing what he's been doing and that. But I think the catch Golden had was against Surtain, and I saw a lot of people were pumping that up, that he relatively beat Surtain on that play. Watson, yes, he's definitely going to have to remember to hang on to the ball. He can't rely on that kind of thing. If he's going to be our number one receiver going into the season, he's going to have to play like a number one receiver. And, you can't have a ton of drops, and you can't have fumbles and stuff like that. So, that needs to be worked on a little bit. The offensive line, for the most part, held up until the backups started really kind of coming in. So, yeah, overall, the offense looked pretty good on that.
Yep. Anything else that really stood out for you?
Well, Lukas. I mean, Lukas really had a good game. Had some pressures in that. Threw that offensive Garrett Bowles like he was a rag doll. So that's a good sign. Jonathan Ford did a really good job in playing, and I have hopes for him. I've always had hopes for him, even when the Packers drafted him. I really rode that Jonathan Ford.
You did. I'm going to give you your props there, because you were always heavily into the Jonathan Ford stock exchange there. So yeah, you deserve your flowers for seeing that, for sticking that one out.
Right, and really it was because he was a bigger guy. He was always going to be that nose tackle type person. Yes, he was raw. He just needed the right guy to sit down and say, here, this is what you need to do. You need to use your body a little bit more. You need to use your size a little bit more. And I think he's finally figured that out, and maybe he can be the nose tackle going forward. Anthony Campbell had another really good game. I know it's going to be a very hard decision when it comes to making that 53, because Carl Brooks really hasn't been showing anything, but Anthony Campbell has. Do you cut ties with Brooks and keep Campbell and hope Campbell can continue to do it in the regular season, or do you hope that you can try to sneak him through waivers to the practice squad? I don't know, but he's making it a very hard decision. Skyy was doing good until he got tangled up and they took him out for precautions. I think that's about all I got. Anything else that you can think of?
I thought McClellan had a good game. I know that a lot of his tackles were kind of split, but just doing stuff that you want to see out of a rookie defensive lineman. I know he didn't play too much against the starting O-line, but regardless, it's just good to see him kind of working on his technique, splitting some doubles and things like that. So, two-gapping a little bit, splitting some doubles. So, good to see regardless of competition there. That, like you said, it's hard to spread the wealth around. And I thought McCord put some solid drives together towards the end of the game. No one receiver really. I know Shepard had the touchdown, but otherwise, he was kind of just catching short passes that were there for him. Nair had a nightmare drive right before halftime, and then came back, and the last touchdown drive put together a really good performance on that drive. So that's sort of the ups and downs with some UDFAs. Sturdivant had a nice catch, but unfortunately it kind of goes in the stinky because it looks like he got concussed on the play because, maybe he wasn't, but they did take him out and he never went back in the game, and that's a bummer for a guy who's, been hyped up a lot by the staff and people who've been at practices, but, he just can't afford to lose reps at this point of time. And then the return game had popped a couple times.
Do we really want to go into this at the moment, or do we want to hang off on it?
I'm just going to highlight it right here, and then we'll go into it later. So it's foreshadowing. It's foreshadowing. We're just teasing. We're teasing we're teasing it. But I mean, I'll lob the softball up for you. Like you said, there's not too many things to go into the super good here. So if you want to take this into stinky, and I'm lobbing the softball up for you. If you want to take that into stinky or moldy, lead on as you may, my dear co-host.
Well, it's the arguments that I've been having with people on Twitter over this. Skyy Moore had the one kick return for 30 yards and then had another punt return for 14, 15, 16 yards, something like that. 16,
yeah, this week.
People are continuing to say he's a lock to the team. He's a lock to the team. Mike, we're through 2 preseason games. How many kickoff returns has Skyy Moore had in those 2 preseason games?
He has that 130-yarder. And it's not even just that he has the 130-yarder. I think that's like the only time he's lined up for a kick return. And granted, yeah.
How many catches has he had?
2 on like 5 targets.
Okay, so you're going to keep a guy. This is like the McManus thing all over again. We had such shitty go-arounds with Anders Carlson and Narverson, and that when they brought Brandon McManus in, all these people thought this is our savior. This is the guy that's going to fix our field goal issues, and we're going to be great. But like I keep putting up, this is like being 32nd in the league in returns and jumping to 30th in the league for returns. You're still at the bottom. Yes, you made a jump over 2 teams, but you're still at the bottom. So, yes, he had a kick return for 30 yards. But do you know who had the next kick return? Pierre Strong had a 68-yard kick return. Which one would you rather have? I think I would rather have the 68-yarder than the 30-yarder. And on top of that, Skyy Moore is battling for a spot amongst the overly saturated wide receiver room. How many guys do we have in the wide receiver room that are pretty much locks to make the 53?
Well, it's Watson, the 3. It's the top Reed, 3.
Yeah, Watson, Reed, Golden, Savion. They're probably going to end up keeping Bo Melton because they love Bo Melton for whatever reasons it is. So there's 5 guys right there.
He's one of their key specialty, like across all 4 special teams. He's one of their key players. That's why. So,
well,
or 3 of them, I should say.
Throw him out on offense for whatever reasons too. So then you've got Sturdivant, Nair, Skyy Moore, Will Shepherd. There's one I'm forgetting. Oh, there's a couple of them. Prather and those guys
think,
that are all...
Yeah, I think Prather them are on the next tier below.
Hilton and those guys that are all fighting for maybe 2 spots, but most likely,
more likely one
spot. And who's been the best out of those guys? Will Shepherd has more catches. Nair has more catches. They both also have been pretty solid when it comes to special teams. Sturdivant has more catches. We just don't know what he's been like on special teams because you really haven't seen him do anything on special teams. So you're going to keep a guy that, as friend of the show Jake Shubink pointed out, Kansas City couldn't do anything with him. San Francisco, with all their woes, couldn't do anything with him. You're going to keep a guy that's going to maybe bump you up to 30th in the league for return specialist over somebody that is probably going to be your 6th receiver that also is going to give you a little bit more in the special teams as like a gunner or a position like that. On top of that, running back is a big question mark, as Mike has pointed out. We don't know what they're going to do with Josh Jacobs right now. There's rumors, Schefter has thrown out the rumors that there could be punishment handed down to Josh Jacobs, but we don't know because nothing's ever really been, he's not been charged. They haven't done anything with him yet.
And even if you scratch that part out, he's been injured the past week and a half, so like already the thing that kind of like the thing that was his problem last season is already popping up this season, so that's the other side of the coin too.
Then you have Lloyd, who by all accounts has been playing well, has showed he's been able to stay healthy, but we also have that giant question mark, is he going to be able to play throughout the season? Then you have Chris Brooks, who's an amazing pass blocker but has not showed anything outside of being a pass blocker. So there's more question marks in the running back room than there are in the wide receiver room. So you're going to limit our running back room to keep a guy in the wide receiver room who possibly isn't going to do anything for you outside of maybe give you a couple of kick returns or punt returns. On top of that,
go for it.
they keep saying, well, LaFleur and Goody have both said that he's a lock for the roster. Mike, how many times in years have we heard LaFleur and Goody both say that this guy, so-and-so is a lock for the roster? If that was true, Kenny Clark and Rashawn Gary would still be on the roster right now. Yep. And there's probably many other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head that they have said it about, that they were locks for the roster, and we haven't seen hide nor hair of them on the Packers roster in years. So for all these people that keep saying Skyy Moore is a lock for the roster, take your green and gold colored glasses off and really take a look at the stats on him. Is he going to be able to lock up that number 6 spot at the wide receiver and give you anything that is going to make this team any better?
Yep. I say more, he has it more by default than anything else at this point, because the part, like you point to, is that Reed hasn't played much the 2 preseason games, and he's done nothing of note in those snaps. I know, like, you know, he caught a almost first down against Pittsburgh, and then he gained a bunch of penalty yards back against Denver this past week, but it's like, it's nothing downfield. He's only running slants and things like that. Like, granted, like, the O-line situation and the quarterback situation that's throwing to him isn't great, but still, it's like, nothing, like you said, there's nothing that really has stood out in terms of his listed position. I will admit the 2 punt returns that he's got have been good punt returns, because, like, especially this week, he really shouldn't have gained anything on the punt return he had this week. So I will give him his props there.
Better than what we've had in the past, right? For sure. No, there's no doubt about that. But again, you take a look at it, and okay, we've jumped from 32nd in the league to 30th in the league. Are we just okay with being 2 points higher than what we were in the past, or do you want more out of that?
I do, but the only problem is, and it's hard because they haven't forced a lot of punts in the preseason games, but none of the guys behind him have done much either. The only hope would have been that Shepard had some better returns, but yeah, and that's the thing, is he's running with the backup punt return team, so he's not getting the best blocking necessarily. The ideal would be that that he did get against Pittsburgh, Oladapo got thrown right into him, so he didn't really have a chance on that one. But we also don't know what Pierre Strong could do on punt returns. That's the thing, is like, that's the problem with the Packers, is like, these bottom of the roster guys that they're dealing with, they're all like parts of a really good player. Like, they're if you could meld Melton and Moore together, their best parts, into one player, it's like, okay, that's a lock for a roster spot, because you've got your top return. As long as they're catching kicks and punts, that's fine. You've got your top returner and your top gunner on punt and kickoff coverage in one player. Like that's the problem they're doing, and it does make the bottom of the roster crunch a headache, because it's like, not only just to make the 53 man, but then when you get to game day actives, and it's like, okay, we got to sit, I'm so lost onto what the current rules are. We've got to sit 7 guys. I think it's 50 or 46, or no, it's 6 inactive, because it's a 47. Yeah, it's a 47 game day active roster, and I forget what. Yeah, it's 47, and then +1 if you have a QB3. But then it's like, okay, like, we have to have this guy for literally one thing up on game days, and we're going to have to sit an extra lineman, D lineman, DB, whatever kind of thing.
Well, you're going to have to pick and choose your wide receivers.
Right,
because
exactly.
If you keep Skyy Moore and you keep Bo Melton, are you going to keep Skyy Moore over Bo Melton, or are you going to keep Bo Melton over Skyy Moore?
I agree, and that's where I kind of liked him. I know that he wouldn't play there, but I kind of liked Melton being listed as a quarterback better than as a wide receiver, because it really did stunt your... Because if those are 2 of your receivers, then it's like, oh, like, for whatever it's worth, Savion has not taken a running back snap this whole preseason. Like, there's different things they can do, quote unquote, to like make up the numbers, make up the snaps and stuff. But I agree with you that like having guys who have such isolated linear roles for this team, it really does constrain what they can do with their game day active roster. And the devil's advocate of it is like, okay, then who's going to do it? I don't know, and I know that's not going to convince anyone otherwise. But it goes back to my joke about how the adage is that you can find running backs anywhere in the draft, except if you're the Green Bay Packers, because we can't. It's Jones, and we traded for Ryan Grant, and it's like.
You can throw Williams in there. Jamal Williams was...
Oh, yeah, Jamal and Lacey. But, like, other than that, like, okay, that's 4 guys across 3 different drafts. Like, in between that, it's like all the other guys... And Starks. I'll throw Starks because he was our own draft pick and had a decent career for a 6th-round guy. But it's like, okay, you had to trade for Ryan Grant. Otherwise, those are 4 guys that you've drafted over, like, 20 years. And then the rest of it, it's like, could it fucking figure out how to find a running back while every other team is like, we signed this Joe Blow off the street from nowhere directional Missouri State or something like that, and he got 1,000 yards and stuff.
Don't be dissing the Nowhereville Missouri State college.
But you know what I mean. Where it's like every other team, it's like, oh my god, we just found this 800+ yard rusher, and Green Bay, it's like, can we get someone who can sniff 3.5 yards a carry? No? Alright, fine.
and that's the thing, because if we could get Pierre Strong, and I'm not even saying he's a lock for the team, but I'm just using him as an example because when I tweeted that out again, it was right after he had the 68-yarder. And that's when I said, again, are we sure Skyy Moore is a lock for the roster after seeing Pierre Strong rip that 68-yarder off? Let's say Chris Brooks doesn't make the roster, because right now he hasn't played, or he's very sparingly played. He's only been doing good at pass rush protection. He hasn't been doing anything in the run game. Is he providing anything in special teams? Nothing that I really know of off the top of my head.
No, he's a pretty important guy. I think right now, because Brooks hasn't played, he would be like the personal protector on punt. And he had a couple important roles last year, but because he's missed like half of training camp, he's had those spots filled by other guys. But I'll do my Brooks thoughts after you, but I know where you're going with this.
So if Pierre Strong is already giving you more outside of just being running back 3, it seems easier to keep him than it is Skyy Moore and have to fight with who are you going to leave off the game day actives.
Yeah.
Because again, you're going to have to, even if you keep 7 wide receivers, who are the 2 wide receivers you're going to keep off the game day roster?
Yep. So
because you're going to have to replace one of them with Skyy Moore. And who's it going to be? Yeah.
And I think it's more that part of it is why they're so trying to talk him up as we're going to use him as like LaFleur is trying to fluff it, because he's like, I think almost trying to convince himself that it's like, I can do what Andy Reid and Shanahan couldn't do before me and make him into a useful contributor. Because like, even like I said, if they were to keep, if the 6 are the top 3, Golden, Watson, Reed, and then the next 3 are, Savion, Melton, and Moore. And, like, you could justify Savion because it's like, we can play him in, like, 5 different positions, like, including running back and stuff. And then, but then, like you said,
one way or the other.
Right. And then the thing is, though, is like you say, there's a trickle-down effect, because then it's like, okay, now that you've got 6 receivers up, who's that extra other position player that you're like, okay, that guy's not active and stuff, and it just does really create so many more headaches than it should and stuff. And I'm really curious to see how they're going to handle it once the season comes. I've just resigned myself to the fact that it's going to be a roster cluster that they're gonna juggle around. And that's the thing, is like, it works early in the season when guys are healthy, but as the season goes along and other guys at different positions get dinged up, and like no one on the O-line is healthy by November kind of thing, and then like, okay, we want to carry our 9th and potentially 10th lineman active on game day, but we need all 6 of these receivers up because we need Melton on special teams, we need Moore on returns, and Savian's our Swiss Army knife player. So, I guess we're going light at D-line and DB or something. It just creates potential wounds in other places and stuff like that. So we'll see. Like I said, these things do early on in the season have a way of taking care of themselves, but it is going to be one of those ones that I think is going to frustrate more than it's going to add, especially if, obviously things go real easy if Moore returns a kickoff or a punt return in week 1. Like, okay, like, you and I will be quiet for a while kind of thing. But
I have no problem beating Crow.
Yeah, same as me.
This feels like the Mecole Hardman thing all over again. Mecole Hardman was supposed to be a lock for the team and was going to be our return specialist and was going to be this gadget player. He's not on the team anymore. He didn't even make it out of training camp.
Yep. So we will see how it goes, but yeah, I'm not going to be surprised either way the team ends up going, because the Packers have always preferred roster flexibility, but they are also so desperate for a answer at the return spot that, yeah, like, and that's the thing, is like, as much as we're talking about they need to use a guy who's a contributor at their position, they've tried that, and Golden almost got himself concussed twice last season, and Reed was just lost back there after about a month. So hey, maybe with an actual coordinator who's actually doing some teaching and coaching, maybe things would and could be different, but it seems like they've just totally moved off that spot. And I get it. You're paying one of those guys $17 million a year, and the other guy is supposed to be one of your starting receivers, so it is a little bit harder of a pill to swallow. But yeah, it is one of those where it kind of makes your eye twitch a little bit, where you're kind of just like, like, is this really the best we can do? And unfortunately, or fortunate, depending on which side of the street you're on, the team is saying, yeah, it is the best we can do, and we're going to live with it for now. And I'm sure it's like I said, it's a scab that Joe and I are either going to eat crow or keep picking at for the next couple months. But that's the kind of talking points we're looking at this point in time.
It might not even be a couple of months. We just got to wait until the 53-man roster starts getting trimmed.
Yep.
Because that'll be the point where we can say, yes, we have to eat a little bit of crow, or no, we don't have to. Because if he doesn't even make it out of the 53-man cut, then, yeah, it looks like I would be right.
And tune in August 31st. We'll record. Yeah, we're gonna record that episode sooner than later, because that final cutdown is a week from now at 6 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, August 30th. They need to be done, and so we shall see.
Yeah, Mike and I have to make a decision on how we're going to do that.
Oh, we're going to record it live. Not kidding.
We could.
That would be freaking hilarious.
I honestly I had hopes of being up there again for it. Maybe I could have broke some news on it. I thought I had some news broke the other day, but it turned out not being it.
I'm kind of glad that one of them wasn't, but my other stinky was
Taylor.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, that wasn't even where I was going to go, but we'll address Tyrod now. Like, the only things you can say are like, it should look different with the starters out there, but I don't know. Like, all the jokes we make about Rodgers not wanting to get hit anymore, like not wanting to throw the ball down the field, that's Tyrod in all these preseason games. I've tweeted in both the games that it's like, anything outside the numbers more than about 8 yards down the field, just forget it. Like, if he looks like he's winding up, I just don't even care to watch what happens because, like, week one, it was people getting on Savion for, like, not doing better. It's like, what is Savion supposed to do about a ball that's 2 yards out of bounds? And then this past week...
10 yards over the top of your head. Or,
yeah. And then he threw one this week where he's lucky that Bull Melton drew a pass interference penalty. And, like, he just... Like, I get it. The O-line situation in front of him is not ideal. He's playing with guys, but in terms of receivers, he's playing with guys. All this next tier of, Sturdivant, Nair, and Shepard that everyone is talking up about. These guys all have legit NFL talent. He's playing with these guys. So it's not like he's throwing to scrubs. And the aforementioned, we're going to find a role for him, Skyy Moore. Moore has dropped 3 of his passes. So, like, it's not... is breaking every cardinal sin in terms of quarterbacking. Like, for a guy who's supposed to be like the wily trusted veteran, it's like eyes are dropping right off the bat, off the snap. Just not staying with his progressions. Like, he's just bailing. Like, even the first down play against the Steelers last week, it's like, I don't know how he read that rollout play, but he just, like, kind of panicked and hucked it, like, in between 2 players kind of thing. And it's like, I don't trust that. Like, this isn't even a glowing endorsement of McCord, but honestly, how this makes me feel is, like, if they're not... if they're at all looking at Taylor the way you and I and a bunch of other people with Packers podcasts are looking at it, this feels very akin to when they went out and traded for Malik Willis at the end of training camp. McCord has been much better than the Mike Pratt equivalent in this situation, but this feels very much like the Clifford Pratt situation a couple preseasons ago, where it's like, okay, like, I guess we just don't care if Jordan gets hurt kind of thing, because we're just screwed either way kind of thing. Because like, at least with McCord, it's like, okay, like, he's doing some stuff that you like to see out of a young quarterback who's learning the ropes and stuff, but it's still like, okay, like, he's never played a real NFL snap before in his life. But the guy who has 10 years in the league, it's like, like, that's our return on investment.
Longer than that, he's been in the league 16, hasn't he?
Oh shit, that's right. Yeah, like, it's not good.
Yeah, and that's been what I've been saying all along, and this was the concerns I've had for a while now. So I must not be as brain dead as some of the people over on Twitter seem to think I am, because these are legit concerns. We both know, or we all know, Jordan has had some issues the last couple of seasons on at least missing 1 or 2 games. We don't have the Malik Willis type player anymore to, come in and play. Are you going to hope McCord can do it? I guess. I mean, he hasn't looked horrible, but we're not in... Well, I don't want to say we're not in, like, legit game situations, because, I mean, they're playing hard, but he's not playing top-tier, defenses either. And for a guy who has been in the league for 16 years, you would think he'd be looking a little bit better against guys that, I use this quote again from my favorite, one of my favorite baseball movies, Major League 2, he's playing against guys that are probably going to be bagging groceries in the week. And it just... He's making them look good and himself looking bad. So they're definitely going to have to make a move. If they stick with Tyrod, whatever he's going by nowadays, going forward, then they've just kind of punted on the backup quarterback situation.
Yep, that's the way I look at it too, is they're just kind of saying, like, they've resigned themselves to their fate, like, and yeah, It feels worse than the Seneca Wallace situation in 2013. Like, that's how I put it. Like, if you're looking for a parallel for Packers fans, like, I know a lot of you are too young for that, and that's kind of sad to say that was only 2013. But it was one of those where it's like, well, we have Aaron, so whatever kind of thing. But yeah, it is very much in that vein of, like, K. Jordan,
And that went downhill very fast, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't think Wallace lasted past that Bears game. I'm pretty sure they moved on to Tolzien immediately. So I think, because I think Wallace got hurt. Like, that's the thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was like a hamstring or an ankle injury or something, and they just kind of booted him and brought in Tolzien and brought Matt Flynn back.
Yep, the moment they could get Flynn back, they brought him back. So, yeah, but my stinky was gonna be the interior O-line took its lumps, and this isn't to like say they were shit or they got. I thought Brian was fine. I do need to go back and watch it, but I thought he was fine to pretty solid. Everyone's talking about how Jagger Burton put Zach Allen on the ground. Yes, it's true. But Zach Allen took turns baptizing both Burton and Monk that whole opening drive and into the second drive. More whoever was at right guard, but he got Burton a couple times. Like, I'm pretty sure Allen was the one who drew the holding on Burton. Also, Zach Allen, you're a fucking, like, whatever year pro, doing the, like, being he like did the thing that receivers do when they give up on the ball and just go to draw DPI, and it's like, have some goddamn pride in yourself. Like, and the fact that the refs like fell for it, like, did Burton hold? Probably did, but it's one of those, like I said, where Allen didn't even try to make the play. He took 2 steps and was like flailing with his arms in the air like this, and was like literally looking at Lan Clark to be like, look at what the rookie's doing to me. And it's like, have some goddamn shame, dude. But I digress to say, like, they took their lumps, but like I said, why the play calling, and it's not just Stenovich calling them. LaFleur obviously had a hand in the script that they drew up for the opening drive and stuff, but the fact that you call plays to mitigate your interior O-line potentially being an issue, like I said, those go hand in hand, but you're calling those kind of plays because you're gonna see plays like this where, yeah, your guard is giving ground or getting beat to one side kind of thing and stuff, and like I said, Zach Allen's a really good player. Why I went after him so much for going hokey pokey to draw a flag, but it's like, he's going to baptize a lot of interior offensive linemen, even some good ones. So, it was stinky in the fact that we saw it, but it was the C's get degrees version of an opening drive for the starting O-line. Anything else for you in terms of stinky, or?
Well, just to your point, I mean, they're gonna take their lumps. Of course, we still don't know what the starting 5 are going to be going into week 1. Is Zach Bakobawele going to be available? What are they going to do with Belton? Because it sounds like Belton is kind of falling out of favor at the moment. What is Burton taking over for Banks? I'm still confused at the whole Banks situation with the injury and that, because one minute we're getting told, well, he didn't have a surgery, but he's dealing with this issue, and so I really don't know what's going on there. So we don't know what the starting 5 is going to look like in week 1, and I don't know if it's anybody on the team right now. I don't know if they'll wait for the final cut downs and put in a waiver claim for somebody or what, but, I think we've said this before that, offensive line was never a worry for the Packers for so long, and now it's like we're constantly worried about it. And
it was always they were like, with O-line, if you've ever seen the old movie Down Periscope, there's Howard Dean Stanton's character who's the chief engineer, and it's like, he's gonna jerry-rig it, he's gonna duct tape it, he's gonna pour whiskey in the fuel mix kind of thing and stuff, and it might not be the best, but it's gonna get the job done kind of thing. And now it's like, oh god, they're gonna Three Stooges blow it up they're gonna blow it up in their face kind of thing. Like, they're gonna have 2 choices and they're gonna pick the wrong one kind of thing. So yeah,
and even the UDFAs have not been looking amazing, and usually they have 1 or 2 of the UDFAs that just kind of stand out and a couple of the guys that we were kind of looking forward to see, and really has not. That Dylan
Wade has been solid. Like I do think that he's been pretty good. I think the big thing is, like, just from my point of view, my eye has just been so much on, like, when that reserve line is in, it's like, what is John Williams doing kind of thing. And John Williams, and are they going to get anything out of Travis Glover and stuff. But Wade, for the most part, has just been, like, kind of the steady Eddie and stuff. And, like, I think he's going to make the practice squad. I don't think he's put enough on to, like, latch on anywhere else. But I haven't seen anything that I'm like, oh, that's not an edit. Like, he's in sort of that realm of, like, where Donovan Jennings was his rookie year, where it's like, they might have found something there in that guy kind of thing. And it's like there's enough to get excitable about, but not enough where it's like, he's got to make the 53. It's like, ooh, he's the earmark guy. Like, you should already start calling him about when we cut you. You're going to come back in 24 hours kind of thing and stuff. But
and then you got Getzky, and I really haven't seen much out of him, but I do have a quick story about Getzky, though. So me and a friend of mine were outside the player parking lot, and there was this young lady there that was holding a birthday cake and had a bag of salad. And so we started talking with her, and it was Getzky's wife. And so he comes out. So this is how much hazing has changed over the years.
Oh no!
Because it was Travis Glover's birthday, and Getzky was in charge of getting the cake and all that stuff. So his wife had to bring the cake to the player parking lot for him. And that's how much this stuff has changed, because back in the day with, like, TJ Lang and Bakhtiari and Josh Sitton, the rookies were in charge of bringing the can of dip, or the can of chews and stuff like that. And now they're responsible for birthday cake.
That's a good one. That's a good inside scoop. That's why we send you to training camp, Joe. But otherwise, that's kind of it for stick. Like, nothing really stood out as super, as this middling area. Nothing too much. Like, anything else that's on your mind, or
do we want to kind of talk about the rumors that are a little bit out there right now about how both Keyshawn and Carrington have been drawing a little bit of trade interest?
Sure, yeah. Why don't we go into that? Because the only one potentially stinky thing was Cisse going out with what turned out to be a minor injury. It's not the greatest thing, because he did say he felt something tug in his knee when he was the gunner on one of the punt coverages. And to all the people that were like, oh my god, it happened because we're doing stupid rookie shit and stuff. No, I'm pretty sure part of Acord's thing is we need the top half of the roster guys to play special teams, and it's no one's fault other than football. People get injured kind of thing, and you just cross your fingers that it's never as bad as it looks and stuff. And no, everyone saw Ryan Wood's first tweet, but no one saw his second follow-up one where it's he came out of the tent, looked in good spirits, isn't going back to the locker room, and is talked to LaFleur and is just staying on the sideline kind of thing. And it's oh, okay, everything is fine. And then I apologize to the reporter. She just sent the picture around that was this is him leaving the field at the end of the game. He's in good spirits, and I think she was one of the ones that posted his interview at the locker room availability, where he said I'll be fine, I should be at practice on Monday and all that kind of stuff. So, and
had it been a regular season game, he probably would have went back in.
Yeah. So, all that suffice to say, yes, I'm sure that everyone in the Packers sphere has seen the reports that Carrington and Keyshawn have been called about by other teams. At this point, I'll let Joe give his view. Huh?
I'd go for it. You might as well. I mean, Keyshawn has pretty much opened his mouth enough that he can be gone. Carrington, I like Carrington as a coverage guy, but he's never going to be a tackler, and he's not going to be a number one. If they can do a player-for-player swap, kind of like a Josh Jackson for
Isaac Yiadom.
Yiadom. Go for it. I know there are rumors that the Packers did check on Joey Porter, or were one of many teams that checked in on Joey Porter from Pittsburgh, that would be an amazing thing to do if you could swap Nixon for Porter. But at this point in time, they've got to be bringing in somebody else, and I don't think you can rely on Nixon and Valentine. So if you can get something for them, you might as well try it.
I do think that they desperately need, like, the only holdup I have is, like, they just need bodies at that position, because as much as you and I think that St. Just has a higher calling than just being a special teams guy, he hasn't really proven well over a full season in a while. Cisse is obviously a rookie. At some point, he's going to have some struggles and stuff. Jackson just got on the field. I thought Jackson was fine. It's hard to really grade him against the deep reserves, but, you know, some people are like, oh, he gave up a reception. I'm like, he was right there. Like, it's one of those where it's like...
been looking pretty good.
And Haddon looks good, yeah. So, like, the guys that are coming back from injury are getting into games and are looking, you know, fine and stuff. So, here's the 2 degrees I have on it. Valentine... I'm with you. I need something coming back where it's like, it's something, like, I need a corner coming back if we're trading Valentine. Nixon, honestly, I'm fine dealing for whatever. Because I'm of the hive mind that if he isn't starting, he's going to be a head case for this roster. Because... I think
he's even a head case as a starter.
Right.
Did you hear the comments he was making that... he doesn't understand, he's being punished for something and he doesn't understand what it is.
Right. And I know some people who are still, like, on the Nixon crazy train are saying, like, well, did you hear the rest of the... and Wilde even tried to, like, stump for him. But I'm like, but it's the fact that he had to, 1, make the punishment comments, and 2, that he led with it. That is everything that is why we are so out on the Keisean Nixon experiment is, like... yeah, like, that's like saying, oh, it's sort of like, not apples to apples, but it's kind of like in the Chappelle Show when Charlie Murphy is telling the Rick James story, and Rick James is like, ow, that is the most outlandish thing, I did not do that to his couch. Yeah, I did that to his couch. It's like... yeah, he told, like, this really good answer the second part, but he still said some bullshit the first part kind of thing. And it's like... and it's that repeated stuff with Keyshawn that it's like I said, it's not necessarily drama, but it's like, just have some situational awareness. Like, everyone loved Keyshawn when he was the underdog. The moment he tried to say that he wasn't an underdog anymore, that he had evolved and became this top flight player, like, the moment that he is like, I'm too good to be returning kicks anymore, I'm too good to be in a competition for my job, this and that, and it's like, no, like, you're not. And it's the fact that he doesn't have the tact or situational awareness to read the room that it's like, yeah, dude, that's why everyone's at your throat, is because you're just an out-of-tune instrument in the symphony at this point. And like I said, if anyone's willing to give you a ham sandwich for Nixon at this point, I'm taking it. Yeah, Nix off. Yeah, I'm all for it at this point, because yeah, like, I don't want him on the roster, because I don't want him under any guise thinking he should start or needs to start for reasons that are not football reasons. And then if he's creating like being a locker room issue because he's not starting, it's like, this team does not need that. This team should be playing for such higher things that it's like, you're already down your best defense, your second best player on the team. You have question marks around your third and fourth in, like, Baku Boele and Tucker. And, like, because you already have those 3 things working against you to open the season, it's like, you need everyone rowing in the same direction. And like you said, like, yeah, maybe Carrington can figure some things out and whatever, but, like, if you could get if you could swap him for another corner in return, great. Nixon is one of those that I'm like, you just don't need dead weight or guys rowing in a different direction at this point. And that's why, like, yeah, if someone is so smitten that even if it's a conditional 2029 7th round pick, I'll fucking take it, because it's like, this guy is not coming back next year. He's probably shouldn't be starting this year. Like, yeah, that's it. Like, it's time to pull the ripcord, I think.
I was ready a while back, so yeah.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I think that's pretty much everything.
Yeah, the only other,
yeah,
go for it.
I was going to say the tight end situation. Behind Tucker, there's like nothing right now, so that's going to have to be another
waiver wire.
Unless they think Yasmin can do it, because I mean he's had some pretty solid catches and with it. So other than that, I really don't know who else that they would throw in there. Musgrave is a no-go because he hasn't even practiced yet. You know, I don't, as much as they've liked Messiah Swinson, I don't know if he's gonna be
every
that
other
guy.
play is a bad play by him. Drop or missing a block.
I haven't seen much of Castles. I haven't seen much. I mean, Dabney's had some catches here or there, but like I said, Yasmin has probably been the one that has had the most out of them all, and he's still just your IPP. So you know,
he's basically a quote unquote roster lock because he's the 91st man at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if he can be a number, and we haven't seen anything out of Wiley. I don't think Wiley's been playing either.
No, like that's the thing is like my tinfoil hat thing is like everyone's like, oh, like Dabney's not gonna be tight end 3. I'm like, yeah, because I think he might be tight end 2, and Wiley might be the one who's like, oh, like, you've done nothing this preseason other than get injured kind of thing. And, like, it's one of those where, I mean, they could get either back to the practice squad, but at least Dabney's shown you some stuff as, like, the move blocker, and, like, he's got a, like, he had the okay catch on the under route, on the slide route this past week and stuff. Like you said, Wiley's just not even out there at this point. Like, yeah, they could go in 100 different directions. They probably will. The ultimate irony is they're gonna claim Ben Sims back after they cut him last season. But
well, I'm wondering. I know we've had this discussion before, but it makes me wonder if they did the injury settlement with Lachey so early, that if it's possible that they're going to try for number 3 eventually.
Him and, honestly, even Maryland, just because, like I said, I have no idea. We don't know what Lachey's injury was, but just the fact that he was on a boot on a scooter doesn't sound good and stuff, but yeah,
it could have been just something as simple as plantar fasciitis to get him back into it, because when I was dealing with mine, the foot doctor was like, well, we could put you in a boot and a cast for a couple weeks and see how it goes. So
maybe
that could be something as simple
that
as
would
that,
honestly be like the best case scenario, honestly, if that is the case, like, which is really weird to say about plantar fasciitis, but yeah, this tight end room, it's gonna be Tucker, we hope you're good to go, and we don't know behind it kind of thing. And I know,
Darian
like,
Kennard.
he might not make the final roster. Good God.
I tried to get him to sign my photo tight end too, and he wouldn't do it.
Ah, see? Cut him. Like, again, no tact. Cut him. But, Joe, you got anything else? Any other insights from your trip up to Green Bay for training camp, or anything else you wanted to go over?
Outside of Anthony Belton is like the rest of us, that he's getting frustrated with them moving him from position to position. Luke Butkus has been riding a bike back and forth to the stadium, and he still looks like he could eat somebody. I still don't think Jonathan Gannon is real. I'm telling you, he shows up at the stadium and leaves the stadium at the exact same time, and you can't really see him. I mean, you see somebody in the seat driving, but it's like, is that him or is that not him?
You know who he is? You know who he sounds like? He sounds like, if you've watched Parks and Rec, the first Ohio senator that Ben has to do the campaign managing for, Congressman Murray. The one that, like, it's like, and I know this isn't Gannon because there's the whole, like, laser gun thing or whatever with, which I didn't give two shits about, but the whole thing is, like, Ben Wyatt's like, what's this guy's deal? And it's like, oh no, there's no controversy. He literally just goes up, gives his speech, and it's perfect. Like, no concerns about anything kind of thing. And
well, that's
the
what
one
I was saying. He's either an android,
yeah.
or he's an AI, and he just has a body double that does all the outside appearances.
Because that's the one April goes, what's he doing in there? And Ben's like, he's watching TV. And they go in, and there's nothing on the wall. He's just staring at the wall and stuff. So, hey, if it gets us a good defense, I don't give two rats' ass. So, it kind of gives me flashbacks to the Zane Anderson controversy that I don't think Jonathan Gannon is a real person. But outside of that, I mean, I could go on and on about how vacation went and how my interactions with players went, but, you know, that can be a side episode. But other than that, this is preseason, and we've all got to temper our expectations out of things, but being that there's only one more game in the preseason before they have to do their final cutdowns, you know, you have to be a little bit more critical on things. Yep. So we shall see. Like I said, and like Joe just noted, preseason game 3 is Thursday? Saturday? Shoot. Friday. Oh, fudge. Live podcasting.
I don't know. These have been weird ones.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, wait, hold on.
Friday, 7 p.m.
Yep. So Friday, then 2 days later, final cuts on Sunday the 30th. And we're going to recap all of that for you on our next episode, but just keep following us on social medias at Ohana_Packers, on Twitter at Ohana Packers Edition, on Instagram. Please follow us on Facebook. We're trying to get up to our 100 followers so we can live stream there and do our drawing. Please check out the podcast on your favorite podcasting apps. Please give us a like and a subscribe there. I know Joe put the feeler out. I don't think we got any responses today, but please send us your comments, questions, thoughts. We will go over those during the show if you do. Otherwise, we're just going to put a bow on this episode. We're a little over an hour and 15 already. So for Iowa Joe, I'm Mike. Go Pack Go, and aloha!